When it comes to estate planning, it can be extremely complicated, and it's why a lot of these videos will focus on different situations, different challenges, different problems, but things that may save you and your estate. For instance, I recently read about 3 siblings who inherited the family cottage equally. When I say equally, not as tenants in common, but joint tenancy. The problem was they inherited, but one of the siblings used it as their principal residence. So for the last 22 years, the one sibling that was living there was now being forced to buy out her other 2 siblings or forced to sell it. And then they were going to divvy up the money. The problem was when the mom had passed away and left the siblings the family cottage because she does not want it out of the family. She gave each of them an option if they didn't want it, and I guess it wasn't worth a lot of money back over 22 years ago, because the mom said any sibling who didn't want to be part of the cottage would receive in turn a valuation of $5,000 cash from the estate. Because all siblings did not take, I'll say, that option, they all equally owned the cottage. But over 22 years, 2 out of the 3 never gave any money for its improvements or anything to maintain it. Fast forward 22 years later, now the 2 want their money out and are forcing the 3rd one to buy them out at today's market value. So this had to go to court, even though at the time the mom had the will, left it to the children equally. Now, 22 years later, the court is making a decision. The cottage, which is the home of one of the siblings, must be sold. And so in the next 90 days, the cottage will be going up for sale. But here's the kicker. Each of the siblings will not get an equal share. You heard me right. I'm not a lawyer. But the courts have deemed, since 2 out of the 3 siblings have never contributed any monetary value of any kind to its maintenance over the last 22 years, they will all have to come to an agreement about what they would or should be entitled to. And again, if they can't come to an agreement, which happens often, it goes back to the courts and the courts will make the decision. Now, regardless of all of this, you've got 22 years past, somebody that's lived in the cottage as their principal residence for years, now being forced out of their home, and not only that, not even sure how much money they will get for contributing and maintaining and upkeeping this property over the years. Meaning legal fees are now going to be involved again. Do you see why it's important to have a properly structured will? Do you see why it's important to have a lawyer draft up your will? Because even though you think it's simple, in the end, something as simple as leaving this equally to my 3 siblings, this cottage that you want to remain in the family, is not so simple. And will now be forced to go on to the real estate market for a stranger to purchase. Wow. Maybe you want to have a sit down with a financial advisor, and then from there, after discussions of what you would like to happen with your estate, you go and see a lawyer to have it properly drafted. Because you can control your assets from the grave if you structure it properly. If you want to know more, give us a call at Levesque Wealth Planning. We'd be happy to sit down and discuss these situations with you so that you make the right decisions going forward. I'm Linda Levesque of Levesque Wealth Planning of I-8 Private Wealth saying, you asked, we answered. Until next time.